Bangladesh was born from a fierce and bloody conflict. In 1971, after a 9-month liberation war against Pakistan, the nation finally achieved its hard-won independence. The joy and hope were immense. A new country had been created, built on the ideals of secularism, democracy, and Bengali nationalism. The leader of this movement, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, returned from imprisonment in Pakistan to a hero's welcome. He was seen as the father of the nation, the man who had given his people a voice and a flag. The future seemed bright, but the challenges facing the new country were enormous. The war had left the infrastructure in ruins and the economy shattered. The initial years were incredibly difficult. The government, led by Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and his Awami League party, struggled to rebuild. A devastating famine in 1974 claimed the lives of countless people, exposing deep-seated problems with food distribution and governance. Corruption became a significant issue, with some officials and party members accused of enriching themselves while the general population suffered. This created a growing sense of disillusionment. The promises of independence, of a golden Bengal, felt distant to many who were struggling just to survive. The unity that had been so strong during the war began to fray under the immense pressure of nation-building. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, affectionately known as Bangabandhu, or Friend of Bengal, was a charismatic and beloved leader. However, his administration faced mounting criticism for its handling of the economy and law and order. In an attempt to stabilize the country and consolidate power, a major political change was made. In January 1975, the constitution was amended. Bangladesh became a one-party state under the Bangladesh Krishak Shramik Awami League, or Baksal. This move effectively banned all other political parties and concentrated immense power in the hands of the president, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. While intended to bring order, it alienated many and was seen as a step away from the democratic ideals the nation was founded upon. This shift towards authoritarian rule created deep resentment, not just among the public, but also within a crucial institution, the army. A group of mid-ranking army officers began to feel increasingly disgruntled. They were a mix of individuals, some with personal grievances against the ruling elite, others who had fought in the Liberation War and felt their contributions were being ignored. They were deeply unhappy with the direction the country was heading. They saw the creation of Baksal as a betrayal of the liberation's democratic spirit. This simmering discontent within the military would soon boil over, setting the stage for one of the most tragic and pivotal events in Bangladesh's history. In the pre-dawn darkness of August 15, 1975, a coordinated and brutal plan was put into action. Several units of the Bangladesh army, led by a group of majors, quietly rolled out of the Dhaka cantonment. Their targets were specific, and their mission was deadly. The main force headed for Dhanmondi 32, the personal residence of President Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. This was not a simple arrest. It was a planned assassination. The plotters knew that to seize control they had to eliminate the very symbol of the nation's birth. The city of Dhaka was asleep, completely unaware that the course of its history was about to be violently and irrevocably altered. The attack was swift and merciless. The soldiers stormed the president's home, overcoming the minimal security presence. They moved through the house room by room. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, along with most of his family members present in the house, were killed. This included his wife, 3 of his sons, one of whom was just 10 years old, and his 2 newlywed daughters-in-law. The violence was not confined to one location. Other teams of assassins targeted the homes of his relatives and key political associates, ensuring that any potential leaders who could rally the people against the coup were also eliminated. It was a systematic effort to wipe out the entire Mujib political dynasty. The key figures behind this bloody coup were a group of army majors, including Syed Faruque Rahman and Kandakar Abdur Rashid. They were the masterminds and field commanders of the operation. While they led the attack, they had secured the backing of a senior political figure from within Sheikh Mujib's own party, Kondakar Mostaq Ahmad. He was a cabinet minister in the government and was ready to step into the power vacuum that the assassinations would create. This combination of military force and political ambition was crucial. The majors provided the muscle, while Mostaq provided the veneer of a legitimate political transition. By sunrise on August 15th, The coup was complete. The plotters had seized the radio station, and Major Shariful Haqqi Dalim made the chilling announcement to the nation. He declared that Sheikh Mujibur Rahman had been killed and that the country was now under the control of the armed forces, with Kondaka Mostaq Ahmad as the new president. The news sent shockwaves across Bangladesh and the world. The man who had led the country to freedom had been assassinated in his own home by a faction of the very army meant to protect the nation. A dark new chapter had begun. The immediate aftermath of the coup was a period of profound shock and uncertainty. Kondaka Mostaq Ahmad was sworn in as president, and he quickly moved to consolidate his power and legitimize the new regime. One of his first and most controversial acts was to issue the Indemnity Ordinance. This law was a legal shield, granting complete immunity from prosecution to all individuals involved in the assassinations of August 15th. It essentially declared that the killers were above the law, preventing any future legal action against them for their crimes. This act entrenched the coup leaders in positions of power and sent a clear message that the new rule was established by force. The country's political landscape was transformed overnight. The 1975 coup marked a dramatic reversal of the founding principles of Bangladesh. The secular ideals that had been a cornerstone of the independence movement were swiftly dismantled. The new regime began to move the country away from secularism and towards a more Islamist-oriented identity. The slogan, Joy Bangla, the rallying cry of the Liberation War, was replaced with Bangladesh Zindabad, a phrase more reminiscent of Pakistan. These changes were more than just symbolic. They signaled a fundamental shift in the nation's character and direction, away from its original vision. The coup triggered a period of intense instability and counter-coups. The majors who had led the initial putsch did not remain in control for long. Their authority was challenged by other senior figures within the army. On November 3, 1975, a counter-coup was launched by Brigadier Khalid Musharraf, a celebrated war hero. He placed the then army chief, Major General Ziaur Rahman, under house arrest and tried to restore order and discipline within the military. However, his rule was short-lived. Just 4 days later, on November 7th, another uprising, led by Colonel Abu Taha, brought General Ziaur Rahman back to power, and Khaled Musharraf was killed. This chaotic series of events, known as the Soldiers' Uprising, ultimately saw Major General Ziaur Rahman emerge as the country's strongman. He would go on to become the president of Bangladesh and would rule until his own assassination in 1981. His rise to power solidified the military's dominant role in the country's politics for years to come. The period following the 1975 coup was therefore not one of stability, but one of violent power struggles, which fundamentally altered the relationship between the military and the state, leaving a lasting imprint on the nation's political culture. The 1975 coup cast a long and dark shadow over Bangladesh that continues to shape its politics to this day. The event created a deep and bitter divide that has defined the nation's political landscape for decades. On one side are the supporters of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's Awami League, who view the coup as a national tragedy and a betrayal of the country's founding ideals. On the other side are those who aligned with the post-coup regimes, who often saw the event as a necessary intervention to save the country from authoritarianism and mismanagement. This fundamental disagreement is the root of the intense rivalry between the country's two main political parties. This political polarization is deeply personal. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's two daughters, Sheikh Hasina and Sheikh Rehana, survived the massacre because they were abroad in Germany at the time. Sheikh Hasina later returned to Bangladesh, took leadership of the Awami League, and has served multiple terms as the country's prime minister. Her political journey is inseparable from the tragedy of 1975. The legacy of the coup is therefore not just a historical event. It is a living, breathing part of contemporary Bangladeshi politics, embodied by the very leaders who govern the country today. The deep-seated animosity between the Awami League and its opponents is fueled by the unresolved trauma of that fateful August night. Remembering the 1975 coup is crucial for understanding the fragility of democracy. It serves as a stark reminder of how quickly a nation's democratic institutions can be dismantled when military force is used to resolve political disputes. The event highlights the dangers of political polarization, corruption, and the concentration of power. For younger generations in Bangladesh and for observers around the world, the story of the coup is a powerful history lesson. It demonstrates the importance of upholding the rule of law, protecting democratic freedoms, and ensuring that those in power are held accountable for their actions. Ultimately, the 1975 coup is more than just a date in a history book. It is the central, defining trauma of modern Bangladesh. It explains why politics in the country is so often a zero-sum game, marked by distrust and a winner-takes-all mentality. It was not just the assassination of a leader and his family, it was an assault on the nation's soul. The path towards healing and reconciliation has been long and difficult. Only by confronting this painful past, understanding its causes, and learning its lessons, can Bangladesh hope to fully overcome its shadow and build a more stable and prosperous democratic future.